Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the global trade map just shifted overnight. Not because of a war, not because of a market crash, but because of a quiet deal made thousands of miles away, under the ice. What if I told you that a move connected to Greenland may have just frozen Europe's $1.7 trillion trade unity, while China calmly stepped in to take advantage? This isn't a theory pulled from thin air. It's a chain reaction that most people never saw coming. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. For years, Greenland was treated like a frozen afterthought, a massive island, rich in minerals, sitting quietly between North America and Europe. But behind the scenes, it has become one of the most strategically valuable pieces of land on Earth. Rare earth minerals, new Arctic shipping routes, military positioning, and energy security are all tied to it. And when Donald Trump openly floated the idea of acquiring Greenland years ago, the world laughed. Late-night shows mocked it. European leaders dismissed it as absurd. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The laughter stopped, and the strategy didn't. What most people missed is that Trump's approach to geopolitics was never about politeness or public approval. It was transactional. Pressure first, leverage second, deal last. And Greenland, whether through ownership, long-term control, or strategic partnership, sits at the center of that mindset. Quiet negotiations, expanded U.S. military presence, exclusive mineral access agreements, and economic influence began forming a shadow framework. One top didn't need headlines to be effective. It didn't need public votes or dramatic announcements. It only needed time. Now look at Europe. The European Union's trade alliance is massive. Roughly $1.7 trillion in combined trade flows. It's built on cooperation, predictability, and shared economic rules. But that system is fragile. It depends on stability, especially energy stability. When the Arctic started opening up due to melting ice, Europe assumed it would be a shared opportunity. Instead, it became a competitive scramble, one that exposed cracks inside the alliance. As the United States strengthened its grip over Arctic routes and Greenland-linked resources, European nations found themselves divided. Some wanted closer alignment with Washington. Others pushed for independence from U.S. influence. Smaller economies feared being squeezed out altogether. Suddenly, consensus became hesitation. Projects slowed. Agreements stalled. The alliance didn't collapse. It froze. And in global trade, freezing can be just as dangerous as falling apart. Supply chains depend on speed. Capital depends on certainty. Delay creates opportunity for others. Here's where things get more interesting. While Europe hesitated, China didn't. China has been playing the long game in the Arctic for years, quietly branding itself as a near-Arctic state. Infrastructure investments, research stations, shipping partnerships, and long-term supply contracts allowed Beijing to step into the gaps. These gaps were left by European indecision. When Europe paused, China moved. When Europe debated, China signed. This is why you're seeing a strange imbalance forming. European companies face stricter regulations and political uncertainty. American firms gain privileged access through security partnerships. Chinese corporations quietly lock in future supply chains. None of this happened overnight. It happened while attention was focused elsewhere. Elections, inflation, wars, and endless headlines designed to distract filled the news cycle. Before we go further, if you value deep story-driven breakdowns like this, make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you want more clarity without hype. Market Truth Archives exists to explain what's really happening beneath the surface. Subscribing helps us reach people who want understanding instead of noise. Back to the story. Greenland isn't just about land. It's about leverage. Whoever controls access controls terms. Rare earth minerals used in electric vehicles, military systems, and advanced electronics are critical for the future economy. Europe depends heavily on imports. China already dominates processing. The United States wants independence. Greenland sits right in the middle of that triangle. Control over access means control over negotiation power. And negotiation power defines future trade rules. That's why this matters. Trump's strategy, whether you support him or not, was about breaking dependency loops. By tightening U.S. influence over Greenland-linked resources and Arctic access, Washington indirectly pressured Europe. Not with sanctions, not with threats, but with reality. Either align or risk being sidelined. That pressure exposed cracks that were already there. European unity has always been strong in theory, weaker in practice. Different energy needs exist across the bloc, different security concerns, shape, policy, different relationships with the US and China pull in opposite directions. Greenland simply accelerated those differences. Countries closer to the Arctic felt urgency. Southern economies felt distant. Meanwhile, China offered long-term investments without political lectures. For struggling economies, that's hard to ignore, especially when alternatives come with conditions. Silence can be more persuasive than pressure. What makes this situation dangerous isn't drama, it's silence. Trade alliances don't usually collapse with a bang. They weaken through delays, exceptions, and quiet bilateral agreements. Collective power erodes slowly. When trust erodes, efficiency follows. And once efficiency drops, capital flows elsewhere. That's exactly what we're seeing now. Capital seeks certainty. Supply chains seek stability. Investors choose predictability over ideology. China understands this better than anyone. It doesn't need Europe to fall apart. It just needs Europe to slow down. The irony is that Greenland, a place with fewer people than many small towns, has become a pivot point for global economics. Not because of population, but because of position. Geography still matters. Power still follows access. And ice, once a barrier, is now an opportunity. An opportunity that others are already exploiting. For everyday people watching this, the effects won't show up as dramatic headlines. They'll show up as higher prices, fewer choices, slower growth, and political tension that feels disconnected. That's why understanding these moves matters. Global chess games always land on local boards. What happens far away reshapes daily life. At Market Truth Archives, we focus on these hidden connections, how decisions made in one corner of the world reshape markets and alliances elsewhere. This isn't about panic, it's about awareness. As we move forward, the big question isn't whether Europe can recover unity. It's whether it can move fast enough. In a world where speed equals power, hesitation is costly. The US is securing leverage. China is locking in futures. Europe is still deciding. And history shows that when great economic blocs hesitate too long, others write the rules for them. If you've made it this far, I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Do you think Europe can reassert control over its trade future, or has the center of gravity already shifted? Drop your opinion in the comments. Real discussion helps everyone see the full picture. And if this breakdown helped you see global politics differently, share it. Because in today's world, these moves always affect everyone.